You're entering the Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog, the final event of the PGA Tour swing season. And there's like goofy father-son events, team events. We don't care about those. This is 156 players. It's a full field. It's the RSM Classic picks, bets, and preview. But first, a recap of what happened last week. Keith Stewart from ReadTheLine.com joining me once again. We were very close. Or at least I don't know if you were on Kanaya or not, but the final round of Bermuda, it's the only event that's in my time zone, which is just spectacular. And they moved all the tee times up, so it bled into football for about 30 minutes or so. But getting that done, like, given the choice, I was at the gym and I was trying to figure out what to watch. There was the crappy international football game, and then this, like, Bermuda final round that Golf Channel wasn't covering until 11:30 a.m. my time, so I guess 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, but like 45-mile-per-hour winds, a bunch of guys who were really desperate to win but just really couldn't figure it out. It was a great watch.
It was absolutely spectacular, and good morning on a Monday morning there, Mr. Mayo. I loved it. I mean, the whole idea of Adam Schenk keeping it together, putting one-handed, his story, all of the kind of journeymen that we follow all the time, whether you were DFS fans or just the fall series type players, your Chandler Phillips, top to bottom, Kanaya, rooting for him, for you, and those that backed him. I mean, just it was awesome. I'm a Redskins fan, well, Commanders fan, so it was easy to turn that off and go straight to the Bermuda. It was perfect timing, really.
So you've played that course before, right? Well, you mentioned that last week?
Yes.
Did you play it in that kind of wind?
I played it in a little bit less wind than that. Like, it's a standard issue over there is like 20, 25 miles an hour because it almost always comes out of the west. That is on the west coast of Bermuda. So you play the front nine and you're kind of guarded a little bit. But then once you go out number 8, that par 3 downhill, like straight towards the coast, the rest of the day is just try to keep the ball as low as you can and then try to putt and chip around those Bermuda grass greens. And you saw it. I mean, the shot.
Adam Schenk tried to, he put the working theory of don't hit the ball off the ground to new limits.
That's what I was going to say. The microcosm of the whole thing was the second shot on 17. The guy had a 2-shot lead, and the announcers, Brendan DeJong, is like, I think he's going to hit this kind of low, and then he hit it. And he's like, he didn't hit that thing 5 feet off the ground. I mean, and with intent. It was spectacular. He kept getting those like 3 to 4 foot par saving putts, and we knew that he had all sorts of putting issues. The short game, Kanaya's up and down on 16 was unbelievable. He was in that like washout zone over the green, and then he pitched it back with spin into the green like 4 feet and made the putt. I mean, there was so much theater there. I absolutely loved it.
I was really on 18. I was like, well, we could get like a birdie bogey flip here, potentially, because it seemed like 18 was still gettable. But I don't know if Kanaya can't hit a draw or he couldn't figure out the wind, or there was a lot of guys. I feel like their course management was really bad on the back nine that they kept pin seeking for absolutely no reason.
Well, so here's the thing. Those guys are so stubborn when it comes to their golf game. They do things a certain way all the time. They have a game plan and they're going to stick to it. And then when the wind comes up and it's blowing 30 miles an hour out of one side, so say right to left, they just don't change. And Schenk was really the only one that kind of modified and hung on for dear life. And I think that's why he came out on top. But some of those other guys kept just launching the ball up into the air. The guys like either hitting that bunker on 18 or hitting it way wide right over on 18. Like, guys, it's blowing left to right. You're going to have to aim it down the left-hand side if you want to hit this fairway. And how about the hydraulic leak on that fairway? We had to look at all day.
Okay. We thought it was a shadow cast by power lines over it, but it was a hydraulic leak.
It was either some sort of oil or hydraulic leak from the mower that went over that. You could see the striping like that, and then all of a sudden it ends, and it kind of like pulls off to the side. So if you're mowing like that, you have to really pay attention to what's going on with the machine, because if something starts to leak, it's going to kill the grass and it's going to stripe it like that. And that's obviously what happened there. Not the greatest look in the world aesthetically, but it was pretty funny to see that. And then those guys, it was almost like a grid they had to hit towards, like in a long drive contest. And then they couldn't get it anywhere near that, which was absolutely hysterical to me.
I I really like this event. Every single year I feel like it delivers, and like no one cares and no one watches, but I'm watching. I really enjoyed it.
I absolutely love it. And it kind of goes back to like we spend so much time handicapping the golf course and the scorecard and so many different things. And it really came down to how well you could handle the elements. I mean, everyone talks about, oh, par threes over 200 yards and what we were going to do with that. That 16th hole, I don't think they played it over 200 yards all week because the wind was into them all week. And I mean, if they played that thing at 235 on Sunday, that would have been absolutely criminal. It would have been like prison rules.
The bailout to the right. I was actually Well, I've never seen anyone hit a sawed-off driver like he was trying to do. And I know that he was trying to like hook it back into the wind, but just like I couldn't figure out how he had made no bogeys. I think until like the 14th hole or something crazy like that. So I don't comprehend how this guy's trying to hit it right now. It was so weird, but everyone was bailing out to the right on 16. I think Alex Smalley hit it to like the 3 holes over, but everyone was able to like, weirdly, Kanaya got caught in that like little down area. Most people were way more right of him, and everyone was able to spin it and stop it. In fact, I think it spun and stopped too much into that green like you talked about, and they kept coming up like 15 feet short of the hole, weirdly enough.
Well, there's no doubt. Having hit that tee shot before with that level of wind, even if you drew the ball right to left as a right-handed player, you would have had to start it over the ocean in order to get it on the green. And I just don't know in the last 3 or 4 groups who's willing to do that. That doesn't go along with my stubborn comment from before, but a lot of the guys, sometimes they just pick their line and they go for it. Like, I don't know. If I was in contention there and I needed those FedEx Cup points like these guys desperately do, all the ones that were playing there that were in contention, then I absolutely would have hit it at the flag and let it go on land. And then, hey, at worst, you take a 4, and then I'll birdie the next hole. So I'll play these 2 holes even par. I par the last, and then I hold my position where it is because guys kept just dropping, it was absolutely great theater.
I was very happy Kanaya missed his putt on 18. I was like, I don't need Shank making his and then Kanaya miss. Or if Shank had missed and Kanaya missed, I would have had an aneurysm. So I'm just glad he missed. He got himself inside the top 100 though. He's at 99 right now.
Well, you know what? Going into this week, we've got all the guys from 90 to 100, because obviously 100 is the cutoff. We've got a bunch of guys around that 60 number. 51 to 60 is to get into those first 2 signature events, the AT&T and Tigers event, the Genesis. We get drama at the RSM Classic, 156 guys, 2 different golf courses. ShotLink comes back, all sorts of fun theater down there. I'm heading down there this afternoon. I'll be on property all week. I can't wait to check it out. I've heard the golf courses are immaculate. They haven't gotten much rain down there, and the weather looks even better.
So we'll get to the course breakdown. I'm going to jump over to the rabbit hole and do a stats breakdown. That I know that you've played these courses a bunch of times, so I want to get your insight to it too. I did want to talk about the DP World Tour for a second. This is one of the glorious things about when football season's going on. My interest in golf really peaks because I'm not as all into it as I am on the day-to-day grind of when football is not on and it's all PGA Tour on this show all the time. And that's where all my attention is spent. But it's just really nice to wake up at 6 a.m. and be like, oh, there's this awesome event happening in Dubai right now. And again, it delivered down the stretch. It was glorious to watch.
I mean, Rory in a playoff going for his 7th Order of Merit, to pass Seve, to get one closer to Colin. I'm not a big Rory fan myself, but you gotta give the guy a lot of credit this year. I mean, everyone's talking about Scotty being the player of the year. We haven't seen Scotty show up in months, it feels like. And
he won the Procore, Keith. Come on.
Well,
and the CJ Cup and 2 majors, but that's neither here nor there.
Come on, don't tease the piranha here. All right. What Scotty has won at an epic number, but to see what Rory has done this year, he's still playing. And now he's going to go to Australia and he'll probably finish in the top 2 or 3, if not win the Australian Open. I mean, this guy has just been on a tear. I give the guy all the credit in the world. As far as I'm concerned, he's player of the year. To go out there and win at Augusta, to predict and win an away Ryder Cup in such a hostile environment. I mean, I was there, he was the focal point of all the negative energy, and he took it in and he was able to handle himself and keep his calm and play that well. He won the Irish Open, in his native land. I mean, this guy, it's 7th Order of Merit. It's unbelievable.
It's funny too, because I think we all just kind of forget he won the Players.
Yeah, and AT&T. Yeah. Great point. Now, I got a great question for you. And somebody brought this up. I think it was on Twitter or something. I'm sure it was on Twitter. But no one had a problem with the fact that Fitzpatrick won the tournament, but everyone knew that Rory won the Order of Merit. Yet we continue to like rehash different versions of the Tour Championship, trying to figure all of this out because we can't allow there to be two different winners on the last day. Like, I didn't hear one bit of criticism about all of that. Where do you stand on all of that? Like, what was your reaction to how they had two different winners and there really was no confusion?
I never have a problem with it. But I do think it's the difference between American sports fans and the rest of the world sports fans.
You saying that we complain too much down here?
No, you need the winner to be in front of you. Like, oh, you won the tournament, you have to win, and we need to figure out a way to make that right. Whereas, like, just even think about there's no playoffs in like European soccer. It's just you win the table, you win, and then you go to Champions League or you go to something else. Like, there's different things that you can win along the way. That it's not that big of a deal if you win the final event of the year, but you didn't win the Tour Championship. In their minds, in America, I feel like in Americans, and blame Tiger for all of this, because Tiger won that stupid tournament against Justin Rose, and then Justin Rose won the FedEx Cup. People are like, Tiger should have won, and then it just all went to hell.
Well, I think you have a very good point there, and I thought it was great. I thought the way it all played out, I thought it was fantastic. Fitzpatrick, he had played so well through the summer, and he basically transformed his game in 2025 and got back to the level where he could win majors. And he was great at the Ryder Cup. So congratulations to him, his coach, Mark Blackburn, really good friend of mine. I think it was a fantastic win. Rory putting it in the creek in the playoff there, they might have made him feel a little bit bad in the moment, but overall, I think Rory's got to be very happy with his year.
If Rory just didn't flare that out to the right on his second shot, he could have got the playoff continued going as well. He could have gave himself a birdie look even after hitting it into the water. But the eagle play to get into the playoff in the first place. I kind of wish Fitz had missed his putt on 18 and we would have got a 6-man playoff. I was also really hoping for like an 8-man playoff in Bermuda because that was on the table with 3 holes to go. It's like if Novak just Shank. If Shank just kind of lets it go here and goes like bogey, everyone's in this playoff.
Absolutely. I'd thought about that when they were all getting into that 14-15 zone and everyone really started to back up the truck. I thought, we could get like a 4 or 5-man playoff in this wind, and that would be absolutely spectacular.
There are 10 guys who qualified and got their PGA Tour cards over the weekend from the DP World Tour. I think this is the best class of guys. And shout out to Jordan Smith because he was able to get himself in on the number at number 10, and he failed to do it the year before. He came 11th. I think he's come 11th twice now. But you got Penge, Cantor, Christoph Reiten, Sadier, Noren got himself in, got his tour card back, John Perry, Haotong, Nakajima, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, who played himself up from like below the Challenge Tour 2 years ago to get himself a PGA Tour card through this route, and Jordan Smith. My main man, Daniel Hillier, just misses it at 12. I love Daniel Hillier. Those 10 guys, like Reiten, Cantor, and Penge are real guys. I mean, so is Noren, but like we're familiar with Noren. But those 3 guys could be impact guys next year. I feel like, although this stuff hasn't gone well for most of the guys that have come over so far through this new system.
I feel like Penge can play at the level of the Hogards and some of the other guys that have come over. What I most marveled at, I think it was Peterson that had to close he had to shoot like 5 under on his last 5 holes, and he went birdie, eagle, par, birdie in order to do it on the number, which is, knowing what you need to do and to do that. That's why I love these weeks. And I know that you brought up a great point there about us needing a winner. I do care about the winner of the RSM Classic, but when you're down there and it's palpable that those guys that are going for like the 59th and the 60th spot, and then obviously 98, 99, 100, what Joel Damon went through last year, those are real emotions. You can like feel it on the range there. And it's one of my favorite events to cover on site because it's super quiet because the guys that are there know why they're there. There's no, the Sea Island guys are there because they kind of have to be there and support the event. But the other guys that are there really need the points, and it always adds to the atmosphere. I think it's one of my favorite events to be at.
I did want to give a special shout out to Braden Thornberry, who opened birdie on Sunday, then shot an 80.
I'm not going to go down my outright list. They were combined 14 over par on Sunday. 5 guys.
Well,
awesome.
As soon as you texted me that like, hey, Kanaya's really good on Sundays, I was like, oh no, Keith, this is not how it goes. I've had far too many losers this year to know how this Sunday goes.
Well, what I always love running that before the fourth round that report on shot length, and it shows you what everyone's final round scoring average is for the year, and then their position on the leaderboard. And he was the only one that was in the top 50 that I sent you.
Yeah.
You got guys at like 170, 137. I said, oh, this is going to be absolutely, there's going to be train wrecks everywhere on Sunday. And then the wind came up and made it even better. It was a great event.
Do you think that the PGA lucked into a good scenario here? Because Cantor left the DP World Tour to join Liv. He was on the Cleeks, and they could probably use him right now, honestly, because the Cleeks not very good. But he got kicked off of Liv or lost his card or whatever the hell happened. I believe he went 3 times on the DP World Tour this year. He's earned his PGA Tour card now. Now, there's always the talk like, hey, if you go play in a Liv qualifier, you're banned from the PGA Tour, you're suspended. But Cantor never had his PGA card to begin with, so I don't envision a problem for Cantor here at all. They kind of lucked into the first guy to come back. They can just say like, well, he never had a PGA Tour card to begin with. Who cares?
Well, I think that the way the system is set up, I don't know why the DP World Tour does it. They lose their 10 best players every year. And I get that it hasn't really panned out for more than 1 or 2 guys, but it's like draft picks in the NFL. If I get 10 rounds in the draft and you give me 2 or 3 guys every year, my team's always going to get better. I mean, the talent that they're feeding the tour year after year right now, since this system started, 3 years ago, guys are winning. Pavone won, Hogard won. I mean, like, you've got year after year, one of these guys that's coming over right now, like a Penge, these guys are going to make a big impact on our tour. I don't understand why the DP World Tour does it. As far as to answer your question, I think the PGA Tour it's like, it's in reality. Again, I don't understand why the DP World Tour does it. I'm lacking the words, because it really comes down to the fact that when we go to the top 100 like this, it makes the tour so much better. It makes the product so much better. Now, you could argue about the way you want the events designed, but the way you keep feeding the tour with all of this talent from all over the world, I think it's an embarrassment of riches for the PGA Tour, to answer your question.
It is, but I was wondering about the situation with Liv. Just like, is this going to be a problem? I don't think it's going to be, because it can just be, like I said, it can be so like, yeah, we never had a tour card to begin with, no big deal. I actually think this works out better, weirdly, for the DP World Tour. Yes, they have to be a second-class tour to the PGA, but they always were anyway. And accepting that fate and offering this qualification system, while still allowing all the Liv guys to play on DP World Tour, that I think they kind of get the best of both worlds, because I would envision that the reason that they have this, that instead of, like, let's say, does Thorbjornsen have his card right now? Do you know?
Michael Thorbjornsen. Where does he sit?
Yeah, Thorbjornsen 72. He's going to get his card. But let's say he didn't, or like Luke Clinton this year. Like, Luke Clinton's not going to earn his card. That the DP World Tour could be like, hey, Luke Clinton, here's a membership for this year. Why don't you come play on the DP World Tour instead of the Korn Ferry Tour and earn your way in that way? That if they could start getting some of the younger talent or fringier top 100 talent from America to go play on the DP World Tour, I think inevitably, because guys come back to play. Like Rory made like 6 starts in Euro this year. Hatton played a bunch of times. Patrick Reed is playing. Like, if they could start coaxing like Bryson into playing and Rahm into playing more, like, the tour would be really, really good.
The tour is good to begin with right now. Yes, they're not all household names like the guys you just mentioned, but these other gentlemen that are over there, like Penge and the others, I mean, these guys they're really, really good to play. And if you love the Bermuda event and you love wind-affected, weather-affected events on all sorts of really interesting layouts, and you're not like an architecture geek that has to like criticize every aspect of every golf course that's ever been played or the setup and everything, and you just get into it for the actual golf and the tournament, like, the DP World Tour offers so much fun from an entertainment purpose. And if you wake up in the morning, you always get coffee golf.
I didn't appreciate it until I had kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I can understand the point. I mean, 20 plus years in a golf shop, I always appreciated it because you turn something on in the morning and you had competitive golf on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday. Now, Saturday and Sunday mornings are always busy, but sometimes you'd get a slow Thursday or Friday morning, and there was always some kind of great venue on, and the voices, the commentators, everything was just so much better than what we were doing.
Well, I want to talk about the RSM Classic, but first I want to give you guys a preview of who's in the field, the stats that matter, and what the course is going to look like from a statistical perspective. So please stay tuned. Somewhat surprisingly, I actually take tailgating very seriously. Grill fired up, cooler packed, and yeah, I'm the guy everyone counts on for the food. Whether that's my home barbecues, birthdays, tailgating, doesn't matter what it is, Pat Mayo is always relied upon for bringing the food. That's why I go with Omaha Steaks, the official sponsor of tailgating. They've been America's original butcher for over a century, and everything they send is top-notch, perfectly aged steaks, juicy burgers, those thick, deli-style franks, all delivered directly to your door. I tossed the ribeyes on the grill last weekend. Crazy tender, amazing flavor, and you can taste the quality. There's no off-season for flavor here. Make your next game day delicious with Omaha Steaks. Just head to omahasteaks.com and use promo code MAYO at checkout for $35 off your order. That's omahasteaks.com. Promo code MAYO. Terms apply. See site for details. Whether you like golf, whether you like fantasy, or you just enjoy lots of money, starting the second week of January, the race for the Mayo Cup is on. Join thousands of fantasy players at fantasyGolfChampionships.com for your shot at over $1 million in prizes, including the $110,000 first place prize. And this isn't like those giant contests where it goes from $110 to $20. No, everyone who finishes inside the top 250 this year wins at least 4 figures. Everyone inside the top 20 gets 5 figures. And it's simple. Takes 10 seconds a week. You pick one player per week. You can use that guy once all season long. Even if you know nothing about golf, you can still play in this and try to win the grand prize. Sign up now at fantasygolfchampionships.com or hit the description and just use the link. The race for the Mayo Cup is on. BetSpertsGolf.com to get access to the rabbit hole / Mayo, get you a discount as well. Let's jump in to the RSM Classic, where it's the last full field tournament of the year before we get into team events and father-son events and that weird Tiger tournament that Tiger doesn't even play in anymore. But if we go back over time and take a look at the past few champions, Mad McNeely won at -22. Ludwig set the course record at -29. Before that, Adam Svensson at -19. The Gooch at -22. Robert Streb won this in 2020 and 2016. Tower Duncan, Austin Cook, Charles Howell. Basically, when you look at it, it's either the spot where like old timers or really big long shots end up winning, or the guy that we kind of pegged to win all year long and never got his chance ends up winning at this venue. It's 2 venues, by the way. They're going to play 1 round at the Plantation course, one of the first 2 rounds, and the other 3 will be at Seaside. Both rounds after the cut are going to be at Seaside. You can see the best players coming in terms of strokes gained total over the past, what do I have it situated here as, the past 6 months? Let's go past 3 months and just kind of take in consideration a lot of the guys have been playing during the swing season. Rico Hoey, Matt Kuchar, Thorbjorn Olesen, Chad Ramey, Pearson Coody. Of note, I'm doing this before the conclusion of the Butterfield Bermuda. Fingers crossed, Takumi Kanaya can come through a shot off the lead. Wouldn't that be nice to hit a winner in Bermuda? But knowing my luck with a lot of these winners, it's just not going to happen. Take a look at the course. Seaside Island. This is the Sea Island GC. The Seaside course is what we're looking at right now. It's a par 70, 7,005 yards. For reference, the other course on the other side, the Plantation course, is 7,060 yards, but it's a par 72. The greens are a bit smaller at the Plantation, but the fairways here are absolutely gigantic. 43 yards at the Plantation, at the Seaside, 47 yards in width. So Mexico and Sea Island, a little bit, not necessarily a comp, because the Mexico ones were like 60 yards wide, and you can miss in some areas off the rough. There's a lot of marshland out here too. I remember Harry Hall was on a really nice run here a few years ago and ended up hitting an OB just starting the back 9, and that was the end of old Harry O for that. Taking a look back at last year, you see Mad McNeely, played pretty well. He we can get the SG stats for the Seaside course. You can only do that at the Seaside course. I don't believe the Plantation course has shot tracker. Maybe it does, but I've from what I recall, it doesn't. We can take a look here. You can see if we just look at totals, not average, that McNeely gained a bunch putting. Berger didn't, but Berger was in the middle of a nice run, surging through the swing season. Nico, Clanton, Mac Hughes, former winner here as well. Lee Hodges, Vince Whaley, Fishburne, Thorbjornsen, Michael Kim, Kevin Yu, Chandler Phillips, who's having a really nice week right now in Bermuda. Just a lot of the times you can just let these guys roll forward, the swing season momentum to keep them going. But overall, if we're trying to look at some of the filters, we can see the average at the course, the 5-year average at the Seaside course. Very few drives of 320 plus, only 4.3%. Driving accuracy right around 72%, which is nice. And then you have like good drive percentage, 87%. So, hit some fairways, get locked in with your irons, and you got to roll a hot putter. That's what we're looking at for down in Georgia. Bermuda surfaces on both. You play pretty fast on the Stimp, right around 13. These are the Seaside course has the 7,200 square foot greens. That's on the larger side, less than driver in some of the places because it's a pretty short course. Easy accuracy, easy on approach. So when we take a look at some of the courses, very easy around the greens, just guys who can pile up birdies in bunches is really what we're trying to find this week. We'll see if you go underneath the expert models, see how Vincenzi has done his. Shout out Vincenzi. Let's see how he's doing on his end. Let's see who his best guys are here, and we can take a look through at what he's up to. Patrick Rogers, Zach Johnson, Matt Kuchar. I'll probably continue to ride Kuchar. He has had a miserable day one. In the bad, actually, no, he was in the good wave in Bermuda. Just had a miserable day one. It just didn't work out for him. Rallied day two to make the cut for us, but that's about all he did unless he surges on Sunday. He had a double bogey. He had it up to 5 under, I believe, at one point on Saturday with a chance to make a move on the back end, but that was the end of him. Mac Meisner rates out really well. Taylor Montgomery probably wouldn't go that far with him, but Austin Eckroat, Victor Perez. Again, just a brutal day one. He was in the bad side of the wave, shot 3 over, tried to rally back, couldn't get there to make the cut. Snedeker, Paul Peterson, Adam Svensson, who is a former winner at this course, Andrew Putnam, Rico Hoey. I don't know if the problem is with some of these easier courses, maybe Hoey can find the lightning in a bottle and actually come through on the greens. It's really difficult for him to do that. He had a great Saturday in Bermuda, just started lightening up, but he's so bad on the greens that it becomes a real problem. I guess he gained, listen, Bank of Utah, Bay Current, 4th and 2nd. He's having a really nice swing season, 3 top 10s, even a top 20. He's probably going to have another top 10 in Bermuda, even if he just has a very average day on Sunday. But can he putt enough to actually win one of these tournaments, especially because there's like a lot of good players in the field in this event? You can see the Hoey stats right now, the Worldwide Championship, Bank of Utah, Bay Current, Procore. Ball striking extraordinaire. That's been working out really well for him. But you can see just maybe the bet is top 20, top 10 for Rico Hoey because we know we can get to that level. Can he putt enough to break through? That is going to be less than desirable to put your money on. It feels like, at least. He has been getting better all the past 8 rounds. 2 of those tournaments, now 3 of these tournaments after Bermuda are not going to tell us anything because they don't have strokes gained. So when you get a full kind of look at, he is getting better. He did switch to the longer putter, but I don't know if I can really go all in on him from there. Let's take another quick look here of guys. We can take a look at course history too. There's a unique way of doing it on the rabbit hole. We take a look at finishing position. We can load that up, and then we put in all courses. We put in Sea Island, Plantation and Sea Island Seaside, and we'll click apply to that just so we can see. No, because I'm in the past 6 months. Let's past 3 months. Let's go past 4 years worth of data at this course just to see the course history of how guys are doing and hide the salary because none of the odds or the DK salaries are out yet. Daniel Berger, Seamus Power in 2 starts. We take a look at the average here. His average finish is 4.5 in 2 starts. That's nice. You can see guys who spiked for 1 year. Eric Cole, 3-year running average, a placement of T19, top 5, 33% of the time, top 20, 2 out of the 3 times that he played. Eckroat has played this pretty well, too. I wonder how Eckroat's been doing. I didn't really keep much of an eye on him. I didn't bet him to repeat in Mexico, so I didn't really pay much attention to what he was up to. He made the cut, nothing great. Hasn't really been good in the swing season outside of the very first tournament, not playing that much. Obviously, he secured his tour card for the following year, so it's not that big it's not imperative that he comes out and wins. I'm just trying to think of the types of players that probably want to go with, like the close to breakout players. We'll reset all the courses. Take a look. That's past 4 years. Denny McCarthy is the man. So the best players in this field, like over the long term, see Denny, Keith Mitchell, Harmon, Siwoo, Poston, Matt Kuchar, Eric Cole, Putnam, Rico Hoey. Thigala's teeing it off again. Great Friday from Thigala to rally to make the cut after being 5 over on the first day. Shot 6 under the second day to get in at -1.
Berger, Kirk, Victor Perez. Victor Perez did break my heart a little bit, but continues just to rate out really, really well. Ben Ann is another one. Let's see what Ben Ann's been up to. I feel like he had a good run on the Euro Tour lately. I could be completely wrong about that, but let's take a look at Ben Ann and see what he's been up to. The putting has been getting... The putting's not good. The approach play, it got really bad. It's been turning it around lately. Off the tee is obviously always going to be good. Was fourth at the Bay Current over in Japan in his lone swing season start. But I feel like he almost falls in the Rico Hoey territory of, can he make enough putts in order to succeed here? Let's just go past 3 months again and just try to find guys that are making a ton of birdies or just lighting it up on approach. So the best approach players, and it's a very small sample, 8 rounds on some, 16 on others. You got Sig, Hoey, Redmond. Sahith Theegala is actually up there in terms of approach play. That's only over 12 weighted rounds, though. Brian Harman, Ben Coles. Ben Coles, I believe, was 4th here a year ago. Another guy who just probably can't make enough putts to actually contend. Rosenmuller would probably fall into that same bucket as well. Valimaki can, in his off the tee game, if he can get away with it, could be decent here. Put on a nice charge over Friday and Saturday in Bermuda. Is probably going to get himself right around the top 10. Too far back to probably actually contend. Thorbjorn makes enough putts. Out of all these guys that we're looking at in terms of putting, like Doc Redman, that's only in 8 rounds. Thorbjorn has actually been putting pretty well inside the top 40, top 8 in ball striking, top 15 in approach, 15th overall in strokes gained off the tee. So he's not actually a bad look. Everyone else has just been kind of a disaster, except for Lonto Griffin. Very few rounds, missed the cut in Bermuda. So obviously he's going to drop once we start getting this in, but the putting had been pretty good for him. The approach, Fisk, even after his win, he gets to be a slightly green in a field of 156 in terms of putting, but he has been, top 35 off the tee, top 20 in approach. Who else kind of fits a goal? I mean, Eckroat actually does. Eckroat off the tee, approach, and putting. You're going to need all 3 of those factors. Obviously, putting far less predictable than some of the other things, but you would want someone who's putting it a little bit better at the moment. Even someone like Brant Snedeker, who rallied to make himself play the weekend over in Bermuda. Montgomery's driving is just so bad. Ditto with Eric Cole. Cole's had a nice run here. Maybe this is a good spot for him. I believe he missed the cut in Bermuda, but before that, bet him in Mexico, and he tried to get there for us. Ended up T10, T9 at the Sanderson Farm. So every second event in the swing season, he's been doing well. Obviously, he had a bad Bermuda, so maybe it's another rebound at a course that he likes for old Eric Cole. He'll probably be on my short list going through things. Shanks on a nice run right now. Let's go a little bit farther because this is just giving us so few rounds. We go past 8 months, see if this widens it up a little bit. Yeah, we got like 64 rounds to deal with here. Harris English, a lot of it has been based on his putter. He's a Sea Island guy. He's never won this tournament. Maybe this is a spot to go look at him. Matt McCarty, I feel like in Utah actually did pretty well too. He has the putting aspect of it. Obviously, he was in title defense in Utah from the year previous. Let's see how he did. I believe it was a top 5. Yeah, he was 3rd in Utah. He was 14th at the Bay Current. Obviously, the putter has come around. That's going to be kind of there all the time. The driver's always hit and miss at shorter courses. He tends to do well. We saw that at the Wyndham Championship. So he has 3 top 20 finishes, including 2 top 10s and a top 5 over his past 4 starts. It's actually a pretty good look for him. He's probably going to open around 40-1, 50-1, or maybe even down a little bit more because we saw some of the names at the top. They're not elite names by any means, but when you're dealing with a Harris English, Brian Harman, Michael Thorbjornsen, the Matt McCartys of the world tend to get pushed down a little bit more. Nico was top 5 here a year ago. Disastrous Saturday for Nico at the Butterfield Bermuda, but had rallied to make himself play the weekend. Jake Knapp is going to be in the field this week. Bud Colley's a really interesting one. I don't really know I haven't been tracking what he's been up to lately, but he kind of fits the bill of that guy that had a really nice year and wouldn't be shocking to see him get over the goal line here. The putter is really taken a step backwards over his past 16 rounds. He's just not playing as well as he was earlier on in the season when he contended at Valspar. He contended at the Players' Championship, but it hasn't been an abject failure either. He's going to likely, I think he's secured his tour card. Yeah, he played in the BMW Championship, so he's going to be fine. And this is the one start that he's making. I don't think I want to take too many of the guys that are just coming in fresh with no swing season. Like Harris English hasn't played since the Ryder Cup, and he didn't even get to play. He played poorly and didn't even get to play on the Sunday at the Ryder Cup. I wonder how he has done. Bud Colley, that is. playing in the RSM over the past few years. Now, he played it last year, came T25, just couldn't make a putt at all, was cut in 2018. Then we're back to 2017, where he did come T8 at this tournament. I don't hate Bud Cauley here, but I think I would prefer guys with a little bit more momentum coming in. We can kind of take a look at the past 3 months as well. Go back to that rolling average. I mean, we can take a look at the strokes gained. That's going to give us one impression of what we're looking at. The average strokes gained per round of players from the past 3 months. You got Brennan, Hoey, Kuchar. I mean, this is a great spot for Kuchar. I know he was a bit of a letdown this week. I did bet him. I even got to boost it up. And my good friends at Coolbet gave me a 41-1 on him, but he's going to be better odds than that this week. I don't hate it for him again. He's been playing solid golf coming in. Can he put it all together? Who knows? Pierce and Cootie is another one who's up there. Thorbjorn, Matt McCarty, although he's over 12 rounds. That's not terrible, actually. Thorbjornson, Nico. A lot of the guys we've seen popping over the course of the swing season. Mac Meisner was someone that I backed in Utah. I don't believe that he had all that good of a time. Although if Thigala can get his driver under control, maybe he'd be another look. He was like 50-1 in Bermuda this week. So maybe you can get him an even better number if he just kind of messes up a little bit, stumbles home during the weekend. So yeah, if we're taking a look at Mac Meisner right now, obviously the putter hasn't been there. It's been there from time to time. It was there at the Wyndham Championship, fast Bermuda greens, similar part of the country. That's in North Carolina. Obviously this is in Georgia, but it's encouraging to see him pop up in that area. Great. He's been great on approach. He's only lost on approach. He had that bad run through the middle of the summer after getting cut at the Barracuda. It's been all positives for him. This is the average per round. If we're just looking at total for him in some of these tournaments, 3.8, 3.2, 4.2, 3.72. The driver's been really good. So Mac Meisner is probably the play here. If we're just looking at someone who can light it up ball striking wise that we might be able to get lucky on. Obviously, when Ludwig won here, I mean, the closest comp to him would probably be Thorbjornson. Thorbjornson's not a bad putter. He hasn't been like the best at putting, but he's not an abject failure on the greens like a lot of these guys with that sort of high upside too. We can take a look at the finishing positions for guys over the past 3 months. Just overall as well, we take a look at the average. Who's finishing the best of anyone? It's Kuchar. And again, this is before the Bermuda Championship. Redman, I feel like Redman did okay. Redman had the big spike at the Sanderson Farms. I bet him in Utah, and obviously he didn't, return me any money, but I think he actually had like a pretty decent week. So yeah, he was T20. So back-to-back T20s in his only 2 starts. Obviously he was flashing great approach play at the Sanderson Farms, but it was pretty good off the tee around the green. Maybe Doc Redman at like 200-1 isn't a bad look. Has he played the RSM? I feel like he probably should have. Never been good outside of 2019 at the RSM. Although last year just was a disaster on the green. Lost almost 4 strokes putting through 2 rounds. But the approach play in the tee to green was excellent. So maybe a look if you can get the putter rolling a little bit more. Again, you can take a look at what he's done right here on the screen at the RSM over time. So don't mind Doc Redman. Go back into it. So Kuchar, Redman, Harmon in 2 starts. I wonder what 2 tournaments that has been for old Brian Harmon. It was the Tour Championship and the BMW Championship, back-to-back top 20s to end his year. Then we haven't seen him again. He's been probably playing around this area a ton. It was some of the bigger names, even like someone like Siwoo hasn't played in the swing season outside of, it would be the BMW Championship and the Baker, and he came top 20 at both of those. So the FedEx Cup playoffs and the one in Japan. McCarty, his average finish is T20. Thorbjornson in his 5 starts, tied is 22nd. Grayson Sigg has been looking pretty good. Rico Hoey, 27th. We can take a look at the top 10 percentage as well to see who's been kind of flashing there. Hoey, 3 out of 5. Redman, 50%, 1 out of 2. Eric Cole, 2 out of 4. Michael Brennan with a win. And then outside of the top 10, although he's playing in Bermuda. I believe he ended up playing the weekend. I thought he was making a mini run on Friday. I don't really know what happened to him, but I can tell you here in a second because I'm loading up the Fantasy National app to take a look. He's in T18. Maybe this is just another good spot for Michael Brent. Maybe he's just a guy. And if he's going to be making his putts, this would be another spot where he could get that gun done. Cootie started off with a really nice day, treaded water on Friday, then shot 3 over on Saturday in Bermuda. But I think that this course utilizes his strengths a little bit better. He's not the best iron player, but putter, driver. Can you get away with it with these large greens and go pin seeking? Potentially. So we've kind of thrown out a lot of names here. I don't want to make any definitive conclusions about them right now. When I make a model, I'll include that in my column up on betspertsgolf.com. It'll be in the newsletter as well. But what I really want to do is take a break, talk to Keith Stewart, analyze the odds board, and see if any of the names that we've discussed actually do pop up at good values this week. So please stay tuned. This episode is brought to you by Manscaped. Holidays, they're here, which means it's officially gift-giving season. Nothing says, I appreciate you, quite like the gift of smoothness of your balls. Whether you're shopping for your partner, your brother, or honestly, yourself, the Manscaped Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate upgrade. This thing is a full grooming arsenal. You get the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra Trimmer. Super precise, very reliable, and great for keeping everything neat before those holiday parties or date nights or random people that you haven't seen in 15 years that you meet at a bar when you go home at Christmas time. You want to be trimmed, all right? Plus, the Weed Whacker 3.0 for nose, ear, and eyebrow cleanup so you're not showing up with rogue hairs trying to ruin your family photos is a must. Give the gift of smooth this holiday season with the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. Get 15% off your entire order with code PATMAYO at manscaped.com. That's 15% off with code PATMAYO at manscaped.com. Stay on top of your grooming game and be ready for anything the season throws your way. Now that I'm old, I've had to come to the fact that I just don't bounce back the way that I used to. I don't wake up in the morning feeling normal. And now that football season has started, that is absolutely unacceptable. I got work to do in the morning, and I got kids that are waking up. It's no good. But that isn't a problem anymore because I found ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol. The ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic, invented by PhD scientists to tackle the rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for the rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol the first drink of your night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel the best tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/PatMayo to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use PatMayo at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund you your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/PatMayo and use the code PatMayo at checkout for 15% off.
All right, Keith, RSM, 2 courses. Obviously, we got the Plantation and Seaside. They both alternate the first 2 days, and it goes to the Seaside. How many times have you played these courses?
Oh, over 20 times each of them. Definitely.
It seems like the fairways are about as wide. Is this like wide fairway season during the swing? Now, I know Bermudas were pretty short, but you could miss there. It seems like here, I think they're like 45 yards wide. It's weird to see like some of the winners, and I did some more research on this after I recorded the preview show over the weekend, that it's weird to look at the historic winners of this event, and a lot of that had to do with field strength. But you go back and look at the last 2, like before you think like precision. Like, guys are just going to hit fairways. You don't need to be overly long. I don't think you do. These are 2 of the shorter courses on tour. But with McNeely and Ludwig winning each of the past 2 years, now maybe they're the exception and this tournament just doesn't draw that type of player. But they just went balls to the wall. Like, hey, I'll just hit as far as I want, and I'm not going to hit it out of bounds. No big deal.
2 years ago, watching Ludwig live on the weekend shoot 122 was one of the more amazing things I've ever seen in competitive golf. I mean, he just kept the pedal to the metal. And I think we're seeing a lot more of that when it comes to these scoring records. So I think there's been a transformation. I think forever it was like a journeyman's event where, a guy like Robert Streb rolls in, he's super accurate. He creates a ton of birdie chances and he makes them. And then guys like Ludwig, he just roll up and they just went bombs away. And they just created so many more birdie chances that it was like, whoa, okay. Either I have to be Mac Hughes and make like 200 feet of putts a day, or I can bomb it and hit it down to like wedge length. And then next thing you know, I create so many opportunities, I'm just going to blow away the field. The last 2 winners are a sign of the times.
Do we have that type of player in the field this week, though? Because Ludwig was he had won in the Czech Republic earlier that year to get his first win. He played in his first Ryder Cup. Then he comes to the RSM and gets his first PGA win. Okay, that makes a ton of sense. Matt McNeely is like a top 10 player in the world right now. Like, of that prototype of player, I'm looking at this field. Thorbjornsson kind of fits that bill in terms of like skill set that he has. I don't know, Jake Knapp, maybe? Michael Brennan, Johnny Kiefer, like that type of guy. We don't have the high-end version of that player like we had the last 2 years, though.
Yeah, I might throw Davis Thompson in there too, but you're absolutely right. This thing's kind of a little bit wide open at the top. And when you start to consider that many of the Sea Island Mafia only participate in order to support the event, and we're not really sure how in tune they are with grinding this thing out, then it's pretty wide open.
Going back and looking at the past 4 winners, and this is where I want to start my capping this week, and I want to run this by you because I know that you've been around. You're going to be there this week. So readtheline.com to get what's going on at the course from Keith this week. Matt McNeely had 6 swing season starts a year ago. Now, I think there's only 5 events this year, so you can't play all that many like you used to be able to, but he had top 20s in his 3 previous starts before winning last year. Ludwig had 3 swing season starts, all top 10s, and played 3 times in Europe that year where he had a win, and yeah, he had a win on the Euro Tour, and he played in the Ryder Cup. So he had great form and played coming in. Svensson played 6 swing season starts, only had the 1 top 20, but he was playing. Gooch played 5 times, had 4 top 11 finishes. Streb had 4 swing season starts. Like, I'm looking at most of the names at the top of the board. We go over to coolbet.com where you get the fastest payouts in the biz if you're in Canada outside of Ontario. Harris English, Siwoo Kim, Brian Harmon, JT Poston, Denny McCarthy, Daniel Berger, Chris Kirk. These guys haven't played.
And therefore, they're really not on my radar. I honestly believe that they would like Denny McCarthy. When you start to talk about how you have to be able to be a great Bermuda grass putter in order to win the RSM Classic, it's been proven year after year. You know, the guys at the top of the board, the winners. I mean, 7 of the last 10 have gained more than 4 strokes on the field on the 2 sets on the 2 different golf courses. So right away you say, oh, geez, and then you model for it, and then you're going back to all of his rounds from over the summer, or somebody like a Chris Kirk who played well at the end of the season, and then you go, geez, like this guy should just show up and win. I'm totally with you. I'm with the guys that have been grinding right now, and they're very much worried about that top 100 or that top 60 set, that top 10 from 50 to 60. These guys at the top of the board, for me, I'm skipping right past it. The ones that haven't played for sure.
So at the top, it's going to be Thorbjornsson comes in with the lowest odds of guys that have been playing. He's 22-1. For reference, Harris English is 20. Siwoo Kim is 22. Michael Thorbjornsson is 22. Harmon and Hoey and Poston are all 25. Denny is 28. Berger and Kirk are both 33. Thorbjorn Olesen is in that mix too. I've liked Thorbjorn every single week. He kind of fits that mold of guy that's been playing all swing season. He has a bunch of good results, and this seems like a good spot for him. He doesn't have that skill set of Ludwig and Mav McNeely that we talked about, but he does possess that other skill set. Very accurate, good with his irons, and he's making a ton of putts right now.
Absolutely. I mean, you set that up perfect for me. I knew you were going to ask about the top of the board, and Olesen would be the only guy under 30, maybe under 40.
Under
that I'm
40,
really interested
honestly.
at all.
Like, yeah, like unless you really like Alex Smalley or Vince Whaley, and like Thorbjorn Olesen's a much better player than those guys.
100%. And again, at the top of the board, it's funny. Last year, Chris Kirk came in and he was in the interview room. We're sitting there and everyone was asking him about preparation for the week and everything. And he talked about how he'd been out playing with his kids and trying to learn to play golf left-handed as well as he could. And I'm sitting there and I'm the only one in the room that's a handicapper. I'm like, is anyone listening to this right now? Like, this guy could care less about this golf tournament. It's in his hometown. So he's like, I'll go do it. Then Harmon came in the next interview, and Harmon talked about hunting for the last month, how he'd been out and he'd had so much fun being on these long trips and everything. And I'm like, man, you really have to pay attention to, at this point in the season, what is motivating these guys. And I'll bring it up time and time again, but the FedEx Cup points is a real thing this week. And the PGA Tour plays it up a ton. They grab a ton of those guys and get all of this, post-round theater if any of them start to pop like they did with Joel Damon last year, and it becomes a storyline.
So I'm looking up right now, I'm on the rabbit hole, betspertsgolf.com, Bermuda putting last 2 years average. Frankie Sappin's number 2 on that list, by the way.
He popped last week. He did well in Bermuda on the Bermuda grass.
Can he do it again?
He absolutely could do it again. He could. He's not somebody that's on my radar as far as an outright goes, But I mean, these are the guys that we should be looking for. There's a couple things here. When you start to talk about Bermuda grass putting, right? Growing up on Bermuda grass putting, playing college golf on Bermuda grass putting, the same names always pop. I mean, you've been doing this for over a decade, Pat. The names that are really. I mean, you could run your own model in your brain on who the good Bermuda grass putters are, especially when it comes to even more like coastal style courses like this, or Bermuda versus more inland style courses like TPC Southwind or Country Club of Jackson. Like it's almost two different types of pockets, and I really think that if you pay attention to who can really, you have to be able to roll the rock here. Go look at the leaderboards year after year after year. You've got a guy like Mac Hughes that's gone second, miscut, second, fifth. That guy can putt on Bermuda grass flat out, and those are the people you should be interested in this week.
Third in the field, Mac Hughes on Bermuda grass over the past 2 years. Other names that pop up there, Denny, like a lot of good putters putt well on Bermuda, so that's one thing. But like Nico's up there, Hostler, Snedeker, Zach Johnson, Jacob Bridgman, Ben Silverman, Vince Whaley is another one who's popped here before. My main man, Paul Peterson, apparently putts really well on Bermuda. May have to go back to him. Harris English, Matt Kuchar, Blades Brown is another one who's in the field this week who I backed last week, and it wasn't a great course setup for him, as we kind of talked about, but he was 200-1. I bet on some talent. He could actually be one of the guys that just goes and make a Clanton-type run this week.
Blades Brown for sure. Can Blades Brown win? I don't think so. I think that's a little bit over his head, but he could definitely be somebody that could do some damage for you in the DFS markets that maybe isn't someone that people are looking at. But when you start to dig down into it a little bit more, I would love to know where Blades Brown sits on par 4 scoring on the rabbit hole.
Let's go take a look right now. Par 4 scoring on old Blades Brown. He was one of the highest. It's funny that we talked about high ball hitters and low ball hitters, that Kanaya ended up the lowest ball hitter in the field. And then you had Frankie Sappin, who was one of the highest ball hitters. But when you watched him play, he was just like actively trying. He was like Schenk, just trying to hit it on the ground the entire time.
Schenk was unbelievable. It was so good. Grounders. It's awesome.
The last time I bet on Adam Schenk, he ended up next to a tree at the Valspar Championship and lost to Taylor Moore. So I really don't like Adam Schenk. And now he's done this to me.
Yeah, and we actually talked about Adam Schenk. Was it last week or the week before? We just brought up his name randomly, and we were like, whatever happened to him? 2 weeks later, he wins.
Yeah, he's got his tour card back. Let's see here. Over the past 7 months, the best players, that's on Bermuda grass. That's why I was like, 4 rounds. Seems really weird. I got to reset my filters here. Take that off. Let's see. Par 4 scoring efficiency versus the field over the last 7 months. Michael Brennan is number 1. Should we be looking at Michael Brennan? Doesn't it seem like a really good course for him too?
Absolutely a great course for him. 100%. Just the fact that he's going to win twice and grind it out when he knows he has his tour card for the next couple of years gives me hesitancy. Remember, we're trying to pick the winner here. But there's certainly no doubt that he has the skill set to do it.
I don't have the minimum rounds filter on right now. However, let's see. Blades Brown, if I go down, where is Blades Brown? No, he's number 1 in the field. He just doesn't have the rounds to qualify. So that's where we're at with Blades Brown. His par 4 efficiency is 4.04, and the leader in the field is Michael Brennan at 3.83.
You absolutely have to pay attention to this week. I mean, 61% of the holes you're going to play the first 2 days between the two golf courses are par 4s. And then that number only goes up over the weekend because you're playing a par 70 for the final 2 rounds. The par 4 scoring on this golf course really dictates who is able to, and it's in that 400 to 450 range. So if you're at home making decisions for yourself, I would make this a huge priority as far as building out your betting card.
Top 10 outside of guys like Doc Redman. I mean, Doc Redman's played pretty good golf, actually, in the 2 events that he's played during the swing season. Yeah. Maybe give Doc. Was he second here one year? I feel like he made a run here like 5 years ago. Now I got to go effort this. Let's see.
He was good in Detroit that 1 year.
Yeah, that he was. He lost to Nasty Nate Lashley, I think. No, he was T23 in his debut here, and he's been terrible ever since. Okay, never mind. Never mind on that front. Let's go back to the par 4 scoring. So for the season, Brennan, Doc Redman, Brandon Valdez, they have 12, 8, and 8 rounds combined. So guys with actual at least 36 rounds, par 4s of the past 7 months that I'm looking at right now for par 4 efficiency. Knapp, Thorbjornsen, Kuchar, Pearson, Cootie, Stephen Fisk, your main man, Rosenmuller, Paul Peterson, Victor Perez, Ben Ann, who is in this field, Kevin Roy, Cameron Champ, Hoshino coming off a really nice week in Bermuda. Keith Mitchell, he's another one who just hasn't really been doing anything. Smalley, Kirk, Nick Hardy, Rico Hoey. Seamus Power was someone I actually did want to give a look to because he's starting to come back around a little bit, and he needs to get some FedEx Cup points.
He's number 133 in the FedEx Cup standings. And there's a reason why I know it, because when we get down to that range, he was one of the first names I was going to bring up. You brought up two names there that already have piqued my interest. One of them is, I know you love to say, so I'll let you say it, but Mr. Cootie. And then the other one, Seamus Power. Those two guys right there, kind of what they bring to the table. Seamus Power is a really elite wedge player when he's got it going. He's a scoring machine. We've seen him do it out at Pebble. We've seen him do it at other places. He's got a decent history here. And what you saw out in Bermuda in the wind, we know that he can, again, it's not supposed to be super windy this week. I'll know more when I get down there, but Seaside, you're just so exposed out there playing golf. It becomes so hard. All the greens are like reverse domes in a very like Pinehurst 2 sort of way. So you really have to be able to control your spin and trajectory. Seamus Power is one of those guys, and he was impressive last week.
So my short list right now, because Pearson Cootie was on it. Can he hit irons well enough to like score here? He's bad.
Absolutely.
But he does. He kind of has weirdly the B- Mav McNeely game. He bombs it. He's pretty accurate, at least with wider fairways like this. Puts the lights out. It's just you don't know what you're getting from the rest of the game.
To your point, he's what, 14th, 3rd, 31st, and 22nd in 4 starts this fall. So he's played all fall, and he's played relatively well. Worst start on the PGA Tour this fall is T31. So he kind of fits that mold. You know, he's sitting at 113 on the FedEx Cup points. He's got to have a great week in order to get in that top 100. You know, finishing 30th for him isn't going to do anything. He's got to be in the top 10, top 5 in order to jump, 13 other guys and get his tour card.
So if I just sort by the beginning of September, I'm going to apply that filter right now. I'm going to go to the finishes page just to see who has the best form coming in. I'm going to say minimum starts of 3. And we just see who has the best form. Some guys have 4 starts. Some guys have 3 starts. Some guys have 6 starts. So the best averaging finishing position of all players during the swing season, on average, Pearson Cootie is number 1 with an average finish of 17.5, only a top 10 percentage of 25%, 50%, so 2 of 4 on top 20s. Kuchar is an average position of 22nd. He kind of gagged a little bit over the weekend, but his top 20 percentage is 3 of 4 in those starts. Thorbjornsen, Michael Brennan, Rico Hoey, Vince Whaley, Mac Meisner is a name I'm going to be on this week. Ben Ann is another one. Ben Ann's way down there, but can he make enough putts to win this tournament?
I don't think so.
Okay, that makes sense. What about Theegala?
Theegala is coming into form, and he's got more talent than a majority of the guys that we mentioned. It's just a matter of when does he start to get back into form that we know he was when, he won the College Player of the Year and he came out on tour and he was contending in events a couple times a year, makes the President's Cup, a lot more consistent. Injuries are tough for these guys, and he might be looking towards maybe Monday and then the next 6 weeks he has off in order to really start to put in some work and some changes to his golf swing and kind of refine things and get ready for 2026. So could he catch lightning in a bottle? He's got the talent to do it, but I'm not 100% sure. There's one thing that Sahith Theegala does really, really well, which is also one of the keys I wanted to bring up, which most people don't think about this place, but having walked there and watched where the most high leverage shots are, Sahith Theegala is really good over 200 yards on approach. He's very good on long par 3s. He's very good with his hybrid and his long irons, or what you want to call mid to long irons. And if you start to look at the statistics of where these guys gain the most on approach, it's very difficult to gain with your wedges when everyone's hitting their wedges tight. So there's a couple shots every day on both golf courses over 200 yards. So if we take the Plantation course, there are those 4 par 5s that they're all trying to hit into. Those become super scoring opportunities, which allow you to gain on the field. So I would have you run another report where we look at the guys who are the best at 200 yards plus, because guys like Svensson over the years, 7 of the last 10 winners have gained the most strokes on the field on approach from their own spectrum from 200 yards plus. It hasn't been with a wedge in their hand. And the second most, priority category was 175 to 200. So I would be looking at that 200 plus category, Pat, and I would be comparing it to the par 4 scoring and the Bermuda grass putting. And those 3 elements Whoever gets them to complement themselves the best. And I love your point about playing 3 times in the fall. Those are the guys I think are really our targets this week.
So we'll put a min start qualification on that too. Now, would you like to know 175 to 200 and 200 plus from the fairway, from the rough, all shots from that length? What would you like to know?
Oh, I would like to know all shots from that length.
Okay, all
because
shots.
there really is there's no rough on this golf course.
Okay, so what length of time would you like to go back to see their numbers? Would you like to go long term, past 8 weeks, past 8 years, past 2 years, all season long? What would you like to look at there?
I'm going to go with your methodology. I want to look at the last 8 weeks. I want to look at the fall series. I want to know who's hitting their long irons the best.
This becomes the issue because there's very little shot length data from that time.
Okay, so then let's go back to the midsummer then.
So it's past 6 months. We'll say.
Yeah, let's do that. That's fine. Or 24 rounds.
Past 6 months, we'll go. All right. Now we got some rounds, I think, on the go here. Let's see. Nick Watney doesn't have a lot of rounds. I'll tell you that much, right?
I saw his name and I was like, Pat's gonna bring him up.
He popped up his fairway green and regulation percentage in the 4 rounds that he's played versus everyone else over the past 6 months is number 1 in the field. But I don't think I'm going to be going with old Nick Watney. Although he's the type of goober who could win here. Like Zach Johnson could win this week. Brant Snedeker could win this week. It's that weird type of tournament if they just do the Mac Hughes, make 500 feet of putts.
I mean, Brant Snedeker for sure. Zach Johnson's like, a fun top 10 that you're going to get like 8 to 1 or something.
I just looked at the few guys that I mentioned, Sappin, Blades, and Peterson, 200, 400, and 600 to 1. Let's play those with 8 places. If one of those guys comes inside the top 8, I'm rich.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we got recent form. I'm going to put that in. So the average position, av finish. And I'll be able to say this. If you're a sub at betspertsgolf.com in the rabbit hole, I'll save this as an expert report if you want to go see what we're doing in real time. So what were the other things? We had the two approach proximities. We had average finish. We want to put Bermuda putting into that. What was the other thing that we want?
Par 4s.
Par 4s, that's right. So I'll just go over to par 4 efficiency. I'll throw in par 4s. And then I will add Bermuda putting to that list as well. I'm going to go back over 2 years for the Bermuda putting, only because there's just not a lot of stats to go through for that. And it gives us a better sense long-term who has been a little bit better on this. So we'll go putting, and we'll filter by condition. We'll click on Bermuda, apply that right now. Go to average and strokes gained putting. Taylor Montgomery. He should really be better, by the way, based on like where he's so near the top of so many stats, you'd think he would just pop 1 week, yet he seems to just drive the ball out of bounds every time.
Yeah, and you have to keep the ball in play off the tee here. And you've seen from the last 2 years what an advantage it is if you are super long and super straight, what you can do. You're not going to make enough putts if you're him.
He putts well.
No, but he's got to make 150 feet a day to keep up with the fact he's going to hit 2 foul balls.
All right. So how would you like to distribute the weights on this? Like, what would you want? You just want to weight everything 20 and see what it gives us?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So that says 200. Probably don't want to do that. We'll go 20, 20.
I love this.
20, 20. We'll go RSM, Mayo, Keith is what we'll call it. You can find that under the expert reports. Save it as an expert report, save and generate model. And we can take minimum rounds into effect as well. Zach Johnson, Brant Snedeker, Paul Peterson, Taylor Montgomery, Mac Meisner, Frankie Sappin, Sam Ryder, Patrick Rogers, Jacob Bridgman, Luke Clanton, Wacky Valimaki, and a name that I was looking at who hasn't missed a cut in the swing season, Captain Phillips, Crazy Carl.
Carl Phillips. I think he's sitting at, 99 or 100?
Yeah, he won that tournament, though, so he should have his tour card.
That's true. That's true. But he's sitting right there on the magic number. Look at that list. I think that we're looking too long-term for a lot of those names.
Maybe.
That's why those names are popping up. But case in point is that if you're looking at those specific elements, that's where the winner is going to come out of this week. When you walk the property there, those are what the guys are doing very, very well. They are absolutely, I know you could put a filter on the rabbit hole for par 70 scoring, can't you?
Oh, yeah, sure can.
Yeah.
Let's go par 70.
My man Ron throws that on there.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to take Bermuda off, and I'm going to put on par 70 and see what's going on here. Par 70 courses. Let's apply that. see how we're doing this time around. What do we want to be looking at here? The model itself?
Yeah.
All right. Victor Perez. Mac Meisner.
I think Mac Meisner could win this week. I do not think Victor Perez could.
Oh, poor Victor Perez. I bet him last week. He missed the cut.
Yeah. Yeah. He just seems to sit in that 20 to 40 range all the time.
Oh, for DFS purposes, and I'll include this list, and I believe that there are 12 guys that have made the cut in every swing season event so far, or at least every swing season event that they've played, if you're just looking to get guys to the weekend. And obviously this field is a little bit stronger, to put it into a little bit of perspective. But made cut percentage, let's see here, average, boom. And we can even sort by minimum of 3 starts, because Doc Redman has 2. He's 2 for 2. Cootie, Kuchar, Thorbjornsen, Michael Brennan, Rico Hoey. Actually, no, not Rico Hoey. He missed one of those cuts. Let me sort that again. Sorry. Cootie, Kuchar, Thorbjornsen, Brennan, Vince Whaley, Meisner, Sig, Ben Ann, Thigala, Shank, Doug Gim, Seamus Power, Carl Phillips, and Austin Eckroat have made every cut during the swing season in a minimum of 3 starts.
Whew. By the way, Grayson Sig, he's the course record holder at Seaside, 58.
He is the course record holder of, or not even just, he's the all-time leader of making the cut and coming in 60th place.
Yeah. Just goes to show you, when you're an impeccable ball striker, but you can't putt, that's where you're always going to end up on tour. You're always going to make the cut based upon your ball striking, but you can't climb leaderboards if you can't score.
Did you know that Carl Phillips was born in Indonesia?
Carl Phillips was a very interesting study when he was in high school, and he was one of the first kids to use recruiting through YouTube, and he videotaped everything that he did. It was a really fascinating thing. Obviously got him into Stanford and, took off from there. But boy, I mean, he'd be a great case study if you were a junior golfer on how to kind of like build up your resume and then, make yourself a more marketable golfer. Certainly he had the finishes as well and the resume to do it. But, he was an interesting kid 10 years ago. Carl Phillips. He was doing things that nobody else was doing, and you got to give him credit for that. Now, obviously, he's won very quickly on tour. He's very, very good. He's caught the favor of one Mr. Tiger Woods because he sponsors his clothing. So Carl's got a lot going for him.
Well, let's try to dig a little bit deeper into who we actually want to bet this week. I'll have my full betting card in the newsletter, obviously, but I'm also publishing a column up at betspertsgolf.com. That'll be out on Monday afternoon. So you can go check it out, full course preview. I'll have my early bets in there. Then I'll update it again later in the week for what I put into the newsletter as well. But if you just want to read a little bit more and see some visuals on the screen, you can go do that. It's a completely free article. Kuchar, Meisner, Sappin, Blades Brown, Pearson Cootie, Seamus Power, Paul Peterson. That's the kind of range that I'm around. Although I know Nico kind of blew up over the weekend, but he's at like 50, 55 to 1 now.
The Nico Kuchar question is a big one this week, and it's something I want to look into when I get there. There are 3 names that I am extremely interested in right now, and most likely I will bet. I certainly want to see everyone when I get on property, but they are sitting in that 40 to 80 range, 2 of which we've talked about at length already. Pearson Cootie and Seamus Power. But I also like Mac Hughes there. Mac Hughes loves to show up there. And you might say, oh, geez, Mac Hughes hasn't been great this fall. I've looked at the last couple of years where he's played great here, and he's not been great during the fall. And he shows up here, and he tends to like playing at Sea Island. I mean, who doesn't? I mean, it's a fantastic place to be and play golf. But those are 3 names for me as we kind of, work our way through this that I'm extremely interested in.
Do you have interest in like Phillips or Hoshino? Maybe not to win, but they're outside of 200 to 1, along with some of the other guys that I mentioned as long shots, like a top 20, top 30, that kind of thing.
The guys that are further down the board like that, I do like Noah Goodwin. I think that Noah's starting to learn how to play as a professional golfer. You got to remember that guy was like AJGA Player of the Year for like 2 years in a row, which doesn't happen for many people. That's like Tiger status, Brian Harmon, that's like elite status. And I think that Noah Goodwin has the skill set to be an elite PGA Tour player. He played very well in Bermuda in the wind, and he kind of showed that his ball striking is very good. So I think that further down the board, that's somebody whose name that I am interested in at a very big number. I know Phillips kind of pops for some of these categories. I'm just not sure there.
Last 6 months, Noah Goodwin, 13th in par 4 scoring. He is 20th in par 4 birdies or better as well.
I mean, the par 4 scoring, you have to be able to do it this week. when these guys get to 20 under at this place, which you're going to need, that's the average last 5 years is like 21 under par in order to win. You're going to have to birdie a lot of par fours over the weekend, which is a lot of that 400 to 450 land, which is 3-wood driver and then a wedge. And then you get to the par fives, you got to hit those in 2. And then you've got those 3 par threes that are right around 200 yards or a little longer, and you've got to capitalize there. Par 3 scoring can be significant here, especially on the weekend.
Yeah, top 20 in Bermuda, T21 Sanderson Farms, along with some missed cuts over the swing season. He was T10 in Minnesota. He was top 20 in Canada. He has some decent results. I don't know if I'm going to bet him to win, but top 20 might be a good look here.
For Goodwin, for sure. Yeah, good to go.
All right, I'm going to bet Cootie and Kuchar. Those are going to be 2 of my quick picks. 45 to 1, 55 to 1. Might wait a second to see if I'm going to guess that Cootie gets bet down because I think a lot of people, although there's that quote name power at the top, I think enough people are going to be like, these guys that just don't play in the swing season don't win here. Not saying they can't win, but I think that's going to affect a lot of people's cards.
I think Harris English is watching a lot of Georgia Bulldogs football, right? That's where my head's at on that. I'm with you on Cootie. I mentioned it earlier. There's a choice between Kuchar and Nico. I'm going to go Nico. Nico was very good here a year ago. I'm going to go with Nico.
I don't think that you have to choose between them. I think if you start your card at, if you don't bet Thorbjorn Olesen at 33 to 1, whatever he might be, and your first bet is Cootie at 45, I don't see why you have to choose between Kuchar and Nico if you didn't want to. If you like both of them, just bet them both.
Maybe all right. Twist my arm, Pat. It's a swing season event. Let's get 12 names on the card. No, I'm just kidding. But
I like this week. It's the last time to bet.
Cootie's going to be my favorite. So, meaning the fact that he's going to be the lowest odds I probably bet. So I don't see myself going after Olesen. Everyone's going to be higher than that. So let's throw them on there. Let's have some fun.
Cootie, Kuchar, Nico, Meisner. Those will be my 4. And then from beyond 200 to 1, I'll either play them with 8 places or 10 places and just hope they can pick up a piece of that. Or they putt the lights out and somehow we've seen triple-digit winners win here in the past. You got Frankie Sappin, Paul Peterson, Noah Goodwin. Who was the other one I wanted to go to? Blades Brown at 400 to 1. Doc Redman could be on that list. There's enough guys that are striking it well enough. I didn't even see, where's Rosenmueller, your main man? He's 120 to 1. He just can't putt enough to win this tournament. That would be my wager on it.
No, he cannot. I was hoping for the elements and some issues, and obviously he strikes it well enough to do it, but he can't putt well enough here. No.
Braden Thornberry coming off his 80?
No, I'm good.
All right. Read the line. When's your newsletter coming out this week? Later on Wednesday night with head-to-heads and everything?
Yeah, this is, if you haven't gone to readtheline.com before, this would be a fantastic week to do it. You know where I'm leaning right now, folks, but come Wednesday morning, I'll have seen the golf course and the guys preparing all day tomorrow. Later this afternoon, I'll be down there at Sea Island. And so I'll have a day and a half, almost 2 days before I publish. So these guys are of interest, but if I see Matt Kuchar and he's just glad-handing people and kissing babies because he's back at Sea Island, then I might jump off that. So my final card will be listed there.
I very much doubt that Matt Kuchar is going to be shaking hands and kissing babies, unless he's shaking your hand and taking your wallet out of the back pocket.
Hey, man, it's a Sea Island Mafia.
He needs the FedEx Cup points, by the way.
He does. He absolutely does. And he's the type of guy. Remember he had the longest streak of guys that were in the FedEx Cup playoffs that got cut 2 years ago. So he was the only guy that had been in all of them. So he's one of those guys that prides himself on consistency, and he can score on par fours. There's no doubt about that.
And he can putt on Bermuda.
Oh, can he ever?
You brought this up. You brought this up last week about when we were trying to look at who can putt well in the Bermuda Championship, that we probably shouldn't even look at Bermuda. We should just look at past Palom. I think you might be onto something.
I go out and I travel with these guys, Pat, and I see certain things. I see certain trends and tendencies, and I believe this is why you call me up, because what I see is actually very valuable.
I would tend to agree. I wish I had put more emphasis into that. But outside looking in right now, Cootie and Kuchar, 110 and 113 in the FedEx Cup. Homa is on the outside looking in. He'll get into everything. I wouldn't worry about him. Hostler, Salinda, and Lipsky are all right there. Christoph Ventura had a nice little push in Bermuda He's right there. Eckroth's right there, but he has his card anyway because he has the win. Frankie Sappin's at 124. Do you think that they care? I mean, obviously they care. But the 125 and like the 150, the conditional status guys, I feel like with the way that the tournaments go now because of all the signature events, that if you're like 117th and have conditional status, you're just not getting starts.
They probably won't get a start till the Cognizant, to be honest with you, because now there's going to be more guys trying to fight to get in the Sony that maybe would have played in the Century, and it's just going to keep pushing it further down the line. Their season really starts with the John Deere, and they run it out through what, the end of June and July.
Yeah,
Those,
that
yeah.
kind of sucks.
Well, I mean, I think that's why they're cutting this to the top 100. They're trying to create realistic expectations. If you're not in that top 100 list, you're probably just not getting in. I mean, how many guys have we listed today? 4 or 5 that are outside the top 100, but they have a win, so they already have status, so they're in as well. It's just a really difficult thing. One last thing I want to mention that I have in front of me here is that the interview schedule that I'm going to get to see is Harris, Adam Schenk, Zach, Johnny Kiefer, and DL3. That's just because he's hosting the tournament, but I'll be able to get like a good gauge on Harris. I'll be able to get a good gauge on Johnny Kiefer. So I'm looking forward to listening to what those guys have to say, because the interviews last year were pretty much comical that these guys weren't even really like, the event wasn't even on their radar.
And that doesn't mean to fade them. I think it would just mean to not outright bet them to win.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because Harmon, even though he doesn't care, comes like T15 every year.
He's got a pretty good skill set with a wedge and Bermuda grass putting, and since he lives there, those guys actually, one of the misnomers is that those guys actually play those golf courses pretty often, so they know them very, very well. So it is an advantage. So like an Andrew Novak or somebody that's down there, like he might pop this week just because he's used to playing there, and we haven't seen him all fall.
At KJ Stewart PGA on X, if you have questions for Keith or for Keith to try to ask some of the players or what he's seeing down at the golf course, you can ask him that as well. Very responsive up there. Keith, I had a ton of fun doing the swing season with you. I think we should do some more stuff over the winter time. If you got any ideas, maybe into the new year, this has been a lot of fun.
Pat, I appreciate being with you for the last 3 weeks. It's been fantastic. It's literally the tip of the iceberg. $4 million on the line for the ladies down there in Naples. I'm going to keep an eye on Lydia Ko. She's around 20, 22. And further up, Canada's own Brooke Henderson has been good in Tiburon before. So, and she's in that 40 range. So there's some couple people for you to watch.
Lydia Ko, you don't have to twist my arm to bet Brooke Henderson. Hasn't she been awful this year?
No, she won the Canadian Open. She's had a decent fall. Her ball striking and her ability, I mean, really what it comes down to, if you think Bermuda grass is a thing on the men's side, on the ladies' side, it is undoubtedly a thing. Like Gabby Lopez. I mean, Gabby Lopez can't make a cut anywhere else in the world but Florida, and she finished, top 5 this past weekend, and I hit her on a nice top 10. She's not going to win, but there are certain players in Florida, she being one of them, Brooke being another, Celine Boutier, another great golfer on this golf course down there at the CME. I mean, those are the people that I'm looking at. Wide fairways, got to make 1 million birdies, 4 million on the line. So huge pucker factor come Sunday afternoon. This is a great event if you love that.
So Ko, Brooke, and maybe Boutier. Is she from
Boutier,
France?
for sure. Yeah.
She is from France?
For France, yes. Celine, yes.
I actually did want to ask, because you brought up that these guys play these courses a bunch and they have course knowledge. I've always found that's worked against people when at PGA Tour events. Like, how different, because this always used to be a big Ryan Palmer thing at Colonial. It's like, oh, he plays the course all the time. It's like, well, he should be good there, and he's not. I feel like when they set it up, and maybe it's different because no one goes to this. I mean, people go to this event, but it's not like when they go to Colonial, there's like grandstands all set up and everything, that maybe the course is a little bit different than you would see it in a regular event. Is there anything to that? Because you very rarely see guys play well at courses they're super familiar with.
I think overall, there's a lot of nuance to the 2 golf courses at Sea Island, and I think it's a little bit of an outlier when it comes to this, Pat. I think you are correct. I think more often than not, we overplay like home course advantage. I think at these particular 2 golf courses, there's a number of places on the par 5s where you can go for it in 2, where if you really know your carry distance, and the greens, with the Bermuda grass, and they're super subtle. Seaside itself is very wind affected, so the greens aren't that crazy. So if you understand the little subtle breaks, I do think it's an advantage this week. I've seen guys play well here that are loosely associated with the place or who have grown up playing the Jones Cup there or playing the SEC championship there. And I think that in DFS, like not necessarily to win, but in DFS markets and otherwise, I think this is one of the few places where a little bit of hometown cooking doesn't hurt.
Any bombs? I know you mentioned Novak. He's at 75-1, but any guys from like down that list you can think of that are local guys that might be able to pop them?
Ooh.
Or are they all kind of the guys at the top and that's why they're playing?
Yeah, I mean, they're all the guys at the top. The other Sea Island guys that are further down the list that I'm looking at right now they're not even in the discussion for top 100 in order to get in the FedEx Cup. So I think that you're burning money down there.
Right.
You're better off. I'm better off going to Southern Soul and getting extra barbecue this week.
That sounds like a great idea. Let's do that. And let us know. You should start doing food reviews of the local cuisine as well. I think people would enjoy that.
Oh, I'll definitely hit Southern Soul this week. One of the best barbecue. I love barbecue. I love the Low Country. I'm very, very excited this afternoon to hit hopefully the airport goes well, and then get down there and get out on the golf course. I mean, it's the most beautiful practice facility on the PGA Tour. I mean, it's even better than Pebble Beach. I mean, it's right on the Atlantic Ocean. It's absolutely fantastic. If you've never been to Sea Island, put it on your bucket list. It's a good one.
Oh, last guy I wanted to mention is Bud Cauley have a chance here?
I don't know that Bud Cauley. I like Bud Cauley on harder golf courses. This is a bit of a birdie fest, and without a lot of wind this week, his ball striking, I don't think that really separates him. It was definitely somebody that I looked at, which is why I could talk about it so easily anecdotally here. But I don't think the golf courses, and he hasn't been playing much.
No, he has not. He fits that bill of guys that just haven't been playing. All right, that's going to do it for the swing season content. Smash the like, become a member at the rabbit hole at betspertsgolf.com. My articles are up there. They're all completely free if you want to go check them out. You can sub to the newsletter as well and play in the race for the Mayo Cup. One and done. That contest is open now at fantasygolfchampionships.com. I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching.
Mayo
See you next time.
Experience! Experience!